Stuck in the Middle. This is your girl, Adele Clarice. Shout out to Stuck in the Middle podcast. We love you guys.
General, I feel like I'm stuck in the middle.
Stuck in the Middle podcast. Big shout out to the family. I'm talking Riflex, AK, Achuri, and the rest of the gang. Hey, make sure you bring all your important information, your art, everything in the DMV. It doesn't matter where you are at. Come to the DMV to Stuck in the Middle podcast. That's where it's happening.
Welcome to another episode of Stuck in the Middle podcast. We are blessed to have your attention at this moment. However, wherever you're consuming this podcast right now, whether you're driving, whether you're washing dishes, whether you're just kicking back and watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you. It's raining where I am right now in Maryland. We are blessed to have Sister Ekemini Uwan on the podcast, one of the three Truth Table podcasts. We're going to get into the new book that's coming out. But first, want to do some housekeeping. If you are checking us out for the first time, definitely subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you get updates every time I drop something new. And send us a text, man. Send us an email. Let us know who you want on the podcast. And we will go ahead and get that straight. This is our 5-year anniversary, much like Truth Table. So, you know what I'm saying? We celebrating. And yeah, appreciate y'all rocking with us, man. Listen, like I said, we have incredible guests today. She is Ekemini Uwan, one of the hosts of Truth Table Podcast, a podcast by Black women and for Black women, where they tackle topics like politics, race, culture, and gender issues from a Christian worldview. Appreciate you joining us, Sister Ekemini. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. Congrats on 5 years. No small thing. It's 5 years for us too.
I know. When I was doing research, I was like, 5 years already. Like, how has that been for you? Like, has it been a bleep, or has it been like, man, this has been a long 5 years?
I think probably long because of the pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. So that's been going on for 2 years. I think prior to that, if that never happened, I think I'd be like, whoa, that really flew. Although podcasting is hard work though. It is hard work.
It is. A lot of people jump into the game. I'm like, hey, listen, you gotta talk for a lot, and you gotta have different topics. You don't want to bore your audience.
There's more than meets the eye, okay? There's a lot of work behind the scenes. But honestly, if the pandemic never happened, I would say, man, that really flew. Even though it's hard work, I would still be surprised, like, wow, 5 years. But with the pandemic, everything feels like drawn out, right? And long and extended. So 5 years tracks, and now we're in our 6th season. So I'm grateful. And yeah, congrats to you all. 5 years in the podcasting game.
It's a long time. It's a long time.
That's a long time. That's some OG status.
Exactly. So to recap, you in New York?
Oh no! I'm in the DMV now.
Oh, you moved back welcome back to the dark side.
The dark side. That's so funny. That's the dark side.
So how does it work now with Truth Table? I know Christina and it's Michelle. So you guys are still scattered around in different parts of the nation. So how does Truth Table work now in season 5?
It's season 6 now.
Season 6, going into season 6. Yeah.
Season 6 started in March, and so so we're still remote and we still record on our recording platform. We use Zencaster, and now it's actually me and Christina going forward. You will hear Michelle though. Through the season, like as we're promoting the book, because the book is the culmination of our work as a trio. But yeah, we're still recording from our respective locations and making it happen. That's how it's always been from the beginning. And that's how it will be until it ends, I
was gonna say, because like for casual fans like me, or for really invested fans like me, there's 3 sisters on the cover, and from season 1 it's always been 3 of y'all, but lately it's just you and Michelle. So what's, I don't know if it's public knowledge, but where's the third person? Where's Michelle?
So Michelle, great question. So again, because of Instagram and social media algorithms, like things get lost, and so it will be addressed on the show probably later on in this season when we record the other book episodes, because we're going to be going through each chapter of the book. There's 12 chapters, and each of us wrote 4. And so Michelle is going to be dedicated to her work in the movement for Black Lives. She's an organizer, okay? And then also she's also a pastor now, senior pastor now. And they're in St. Louis. And y'all, pastoring is that's like 2 full-time jobs like in one. And so on top of that, she's an organizer, she's a mother, she just has a lot on her plate. And so it was just time for her to transition and be able to focus on those commitments that she has there in St. Louis. And so that's why she's going to be leaving, or technically has already left. But this book is now Truth Table: Black Women's Musings on Life, Love, and Liberation, is the culmination of our work as a trio. And so I think it really encapsulates our work together for the course of these 5 years. And so, yeah, it's just, life shifts and changes. Yeah. What can you do?
Exactly.
And we're not going to be podcasting for 20 plus years anyway. Everything has to come to a close, eventually.
Nah, for sure. And she's always going to be a part of the family. Like I said earlier, you've been on the podcast on Stuck in the Middle before, and your episode with us, I think it was like 2017, is actually one of our most watched. Yeah, 2017. It's been a minute.
I can't believe that. I did not know. That was news to me. I know you all said it did well, but I didn't know. It was like the most watched one. That's so interesting. Why do you think that is? I'm curious about that.
I think just you. You know what I'm saying? Like you just got the clout. Just you, and also the topic. I think it was very interesting. We're not necessarily known as a faith topic, so something different. I think our audience wanted to hone in and find out what you were about, and also just the audience that you carry, but also with everything that's good, there is some bad. It's also one of the episodes that we have a lot of backlash as far as the comments. I'm curious because this is something that I know you deal with. How do you deal with online social media and your tweets that strike nerves with a lot of different people?
I don't really think about it too much, honestly. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't know. And maybe that's just because I'm like Nigerian and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just don't really pay a lot of attention to my critics. I will say though that we do have to be able to receive truth from people, even if they have set themselves up as our enemies, even if they are our interlocutors. I think that you still have to be like, wait a minute, is this critique valid? Are they saying something that I need to maybe check? And so I'm not above critique or above being criticized or anything like that. I'm in the public square, right? So that just kind of comes with the territory. Everybody's not gonna like you. Everybody is not gonna agree with what you have to say, or even how you say it. And so sometimes if I feel like there are some valid critiques or something going, I'm like, I'll go check it with my community. I'll pray about it. I will take it to my prayer closet, and I will actually run it through the word and be like, does this person have a point? So I don't really worry too much about about critics, or haters, or however you want to, or enemies, or however you want to think about it. But I don't think too much about it. That's so funny that I didn't know that there was like a little backlash. I feel like there's always backlash.
Right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't think you in every comment section digging, and it's everywhere. You know what I mean? You're always gonna have backlash. And, like you said, you just gotta keep the work going forward. And I'm happy that that's something that's in your mind. Like I just gotta keep the kingdom work going forward. And you do it so well.
I try. It's not, I'm not perfect, that's for sure, but I really do try to make sure that I am honoring God in all that I do. I try my best. Of course, I fall short. Nobody's perfect, like we all do, but I do try, particularly being in the public square, really, really important, to live a life that's congruent, if you will. And so that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah.
All these years now.
Speaking of all these years, like we mentioned season 6 of Truth Table. What has been like, with Michelle, going and doing, her thing as far as like the calling, the pastorship. What has been some of y'all struggles in this 5 years, and how have y'all been able to overcome it and now publishing a book? That's an incredible feat.
Oh man, well, thank you.
Outside of the pandemic, so that's like, okay.
Oh my goodness, writing in a pandemic. We all just deserve like bonuses and stuff for like producing during a pandemic. I'm just saying. The challenge is honestly sometimes financial. If I'm really being honest, it's financial. It's funding. You know what I mean? It's funding. It's like there's just a sense in which it's just can be difficult. To be able to get the funding, the grants and things that are needed as Black women-owned business, technically, especially one that is just so ministry forward, right? And so, which unapologetically, we are Christian. And so that's been a big thing. There's a lot of things that we want to do, but money holds us back. Like literally our social media manager that we just, hired this year, was like, oh, she was asking about a perk, like wondering, can y'all give this to the launch team, right? We have like a book launch team of like 30 people. And I was like, well, girl, I don't know if we can afford, we want to, but I don't know if we can afford to give them that. And so it's been, financial is huge. And then dealing with just our own individual lives, right? This is not the totality of our lives. Truth Table is not the totality of our lives. And and not to mention Truth Table has expanded. So there's Truth Table, the podcast, but we also have Get in the Word Get in the Word with Truth Table, where me and Christina read the Bible daily and pray daily. So you can get in the Word with us. And where can you go to hear Black women read? Where can you go to just hear Black people reading the Bible, period? And then much less, how much more Black women? And so that's a new podcast that we launched, but that's daily. And that is work. Reading through the whole Bible every day. I have to make sure I have my recordings done. They are done for this week.
Especially when you get into Leviticus, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my goodness, Leviticus is a beast, and so like getting there and numbers, I'm in Judges now. It's also beastly, and so doing that. So we've expanded. We have a Black Women's Discipleship Facebook group, so we got to manage that and coordinate and get teachers in there, right? That puts demands on our time, and then on top of that, we have our own individual platforms in ministry. He's like, Christina has a whole nother book called Faithful Anti-Racism that she just put out that she's trying to promote at the same time as this book. I have a solo book that I'm going to be working on toward the end. Well, I don't have the book deal yet. I'm going to be working on the proposal. So, toward the end of the year, this year too. So we have a lot of things going on. Like I said, like even Michelle with her life is busy. So it can be hard to schedule and to get the podcast going, like, all right, y'all, we need this episode. Somehow, some way, we got to record this episode. So it's the busyness of our schedules. It's our lives, right? Then the pandemic, right? Somebody's sick. Somebody has COVID. There's all types of things that can happen that are completely out of your control. And then expanding, which is good, but there's growing pains with that. So So it's trying to juggle and manage all those things.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like, in my opinion, Truth Table is a teaching podcast. It's also a place for discussion, you know what I'm saying? Like a safe haven, a safe space. When do y'all get the time in all of this to, like, you know what I'm saying, internalize what you learn from, reading the word? And then it's like, hey, I'm going to bring it on Truth Table and, and pass it on to my sisters, pass it on to the brothers, pass it on to, the faith community and people outside the faith community. Yeah,
well, this is, I think the good thing about Truth Table is that, and even the book is that we are living, we don't compartmentalize our lives, right? That we are embodied souls. And so it's not as if like, this is in my theology bucket. This is in my business bucket. And then this is in my church bucket. No, like all of these things, they're mutually informing, right? What we believe about God shows up in the way that we live. It shows up in the way I conduct my business. It shows up in the way that I treat my neighbors, right? It shows up in the way I treat my enemies, right? It shows up in how I show up publicly, privately, so it's not as if like, it's like, okay, this thing happened and I gotta now go, we're praying, right? We're doing these things and now I gotta come up with an analysis for this so I can bring it to the show. No, we're thinking women. And so we're just always thinking about these things, thinking critically and thinking analytically, about the subjects and the culture and the issues, of the day, and thinking about that from a Christian lens, right? And then also a critical lens and just applying it. So it's an overflow, I would say, of just our own spiritual disciplines, yes, of prayer and reading the word, but also that's how we're wired. So we think about these things, at least from an analytical perspective. So when we get on Truth Table, you're just hearing our thoughts, really. And it's not like planned out, like it's just organic.
I dig it. You mentioned getting the word with Truth Table. It's something that I've been following this one. It's fairly new. When did that get birth, the idea, like you talked a little bit about it, but to read the word every day and, like just pray.
Yeah. So this is the seed form of an idea that the Lord gave me many years ago. And I was very, very close to striking a deal with a publishing company, but truthfully, due to their racism, they did not move forward because they just could not imagine the whole Bible being read by Black women and non-Black women of color. They couldn't imagine it. So like because the white voice was not going to be centered, because everywhere you go, Bible Gateway, that's what you hear.
Right, yeah.
You can't, that's what you hear, And so we were like, the publisher IVP reached out and they're like, man, we really, really love your idea, but we don't have the money to fund like the totality of your idea. But what if we did a podcast where Truth Table just read the word? And you're like, okay, that might work. And maybe that's the seed form. And that maybe this might, maybe because of the attention that it will gather, maybe that will lead to the big idea that you had originally for this. And so that's how we ended up doing it. And so we produced it. We came up with the concept totally from top to bottom, co-wrote the theme song and everything.
Mm-hmm. People can find it on, everything, Spotify, getting the word with Truth Table daily, praying and reading the word. So definitely go check that out. I want to talk about audio reading because I, familiar with it, reading my own book as well. Talk about how it was for you reading even though you wrote it, your chapters, how hard that was reading it for the audio portion of Truth Table book, which people can pre-order right now.
Oh yeah, nobody's really asked me about the audio side, and I always forget to mention it. I should mention it, but yeah. So first of all, y'all, Truth Table, it is a podcast, right? And so it's like the book has really come into, it's like the podcast in the book. Honestly, we've tried our best to translate that, and I think we did that successfully, actually. And so it was interesting. So the interludes, you'll hear all three of us, bantering like we do on the show. You're going to hear our voices interspersed in the interludes, in the introduction. Oh,
so it's not like a normal audio book where it's just you just read. So it's like a production.
Oh, it's a production. Oh, okay. It's a production. And I have not actually talked about this, but yeah, that's actually important to say. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, that's important for people to know. Like, you're actually going to hear us all read our words. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, from the intro, you'll hear all of us. And then the interludes, you'll hear us all. And then chapter 1, you're going to hear me. Then you'll hear Michelle. Then you'll hear Christina. Then it's like ping pong. We're all reading our own chapters. And so I think that's really cool. You're really getting like a real, I'm sure, and people always say this to us, whenever I listen to Truth Table, I feel like I'm at the table with you. And the brothers will be like, oh, I know I'm not at the table because I'm a brother, but I'm in the standing room section and I just feel like I'm right there.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Flying the wall.
Exactly that. It's like I feel like flying the wall. So I think they're gonna really love the audio because they're really gonna feel like they are at the table with us and in the room with us. So yeah, that was really cool. I think getting the word with Truth Table helped me big time in reading my own chapters, because, and not to say that was easy, it was not, but after you start reading the Bible every day out loud, which is much different than reading quietly to yourself, right, or just in the confine of your own home, in your own room, in your prayer closet. That's completely different than being recorded and saying these Old Testament names out loud and pronouncing the locations. And I was like, I think it really aided me in reading the book. And so of course there were times that I had to run lines and things when I'm reading, but it wasn't as intimidating, probably because I've been reading the word since January 1. Right. I'm getting the word with Truth Table. We're at day 103 now, I think, something like that. So I'm looking forward to like driving. That's audiobook is definitely my lane. Now this, I'm sure this is the first of, you mentioned you got a book coming out in the future. I'm sure, but this is one of, many Truth Table collection of books. And in this one, y'all tackle a host of different topics. I was blessed, to read first few chapters. I got, media's, early copy. I ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna flex nobody, but y'all tackle a bunch of topics like, worship, activism, colorism, you just get right into it. Yeah. I'm curious what
Black futuristic blackness is. That's something I was like, I'm curious. What is that about that you guys also tackle in the book?
You're gonna have to read that chapter. No, that's the one on diaspora dreams. That's the closing chapter of the book, the concluding chapter of the book, and that's my chapter. That's my fourth and final chapter. So I open the book and I close the book. And so that chapter is about trying to bridge the divide and the chasm between African Americans, Caribbean folk, vice versa, all the many directions that chasm, has been formed due to the transatlantic slave trade. And of course, the infiltration of white supremacy, which was meant to keep us apart from one another and meant to divide us so that we can't see that our actual common bond, our Africanness, our collective Africanness, and so and which ultimately our collective Blackness. And so that was important for me to write that chapter, not only because of my own social location as West African, although born and raised in California, first gen, but also because of my own ethnic lineage, being Ibibio, and knowing that close to upwards of 1 million Ibibio people were snatched in the transatlantic slave trade. So that's not a small thing. So when we say African Americans are our cousins, that's not like play thing. That's for real. So they belong to a people, to a land. And so that was really, really important for me to explicate that. But not only that, but to also foretell what is to come. So the beautiful Pan-African reunion that we're going to experience in glory in heaven. And I think that's really, really important for people to see and to remember, to always lay hold of that. And don't forget that what we have right now, this world, this is not the end. This is not that we are passing through. And what are we going to? What do we have to look forward to? And so for me, it was really, really important to be able to foretell about what's to come, and talk about Genesis and talk about Revelation and what that will look like when we don't have to wipe tears anymore, when we're going to be reunited with those whom we've been disconnected from, and just the reclamation of language, reclamation of ethnicity, the casting down of race, because race is made up, and just restoration of all things, and just the destruction of all of these false and fake categories, and the legacy of colonialism and imperialism and slavery. Right? I mean, you talk about Nigeria, that's a case study in obviously slavery and colonialism. Right. Nigeria, the title itself is a colonial name that's made up. It's technically, it is a made up country. These are made up boundaries. So it's really important. That to me was really important, to be able to write that chapter. That one is brand spanking new. Like that was completely, it's something I've been thinking about and turning over in my mind for a long time now. So
yeah, man, definitely pick up the book, check that chapter out, yo.
Check it out.
What can people, who don't understand the Black experiences, Black, love, Black, struggles, what can they learn about how to know and love Black people after reading this book?
Oh, well, if you don't understand, you will understand after reading this book. Okay, so you will understand. So, because I think sometimes people don't have language. I think sometimes, particularly, I think intuitively. I would say, particularly Africans know intuitively, but when you come over here, you don't know until you come over here what time it is. You really don't. You know what I mean? Particularly if you came from Cameroon, came from Nigeria, came from Ghana, you don't know. You don't know about about tribalism, you know what I mean? You know about those things, but you don't know about, and if you had some interaction with some white folks there, then you maybe could pick up some racism, but you probably don't have the language for it. You don't meaning you don't have the terminology. You don't know how to name your experience. Something might be wrong. So intuitively, something's off, and you've been mistreated. You've been mishandled. You're probably experiencing even the vestiges of colonialism, even the ways that sometimes we show up in like preferencing light skin over dark skin, or you see skin bleaching, like those are all vestiges of colonialism. So don't tell me you don't know what's going on. Like, you know, from a practical standpoint, you just don't have the language maybe. And so I think this book will provide language to be like, that's what I was experiencing. Oh, that's why I didn't get that job. Oh, that's because I'm darker, or because I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I get it now. There was something about the way that I was treated in that scenario, and I just could not put my finger on it, right? But we, in this book, we are giving you language. We're giving you, because you're I think by opening up our lives, like we've done in this book, by giving you historical facts, giving you the sociological categories for you to understand these and the terminology, we're also opening up our lives, because we know that our lives are an entry point for people to begin to examine their own experience, to be like, oh, I thought that too. Mm-hmm. Or like, oh, I did that too. And if you didn't do it too, but I know somebody that did do that. And I tried to, like, these things, these situations and issues are not, they're right here. They're right here, but sometimes we just don't have the language, and that's nobody's fault. That's nobody's fault. But when you know better, you do better. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important for people to pick up the book so that they can begin to learn more, and I think it just gives you a nice comprehensive view on a whole bunch of topics, it's from marriage, divorce, singleness, to colorism, to forgiveness. That's applicable to everybody. We all got somebody to forgive, and we all need to be forgiven, right? To movement, like, so if you want to understand what's going on, this book definitely talks about all of the things, especially as Black women who are marginalized, right? And so we're not only marginalized because of our race, but also because of our gender, right? And we know that, and particularly as African people, African women know what the wages of patriarchy, practically. They may not be able to name it, but they know how they've been cast aside. They know how they've been mistreated, even within their own family. Even by their own spouses sometimes. So I think it helps to give some language there. But hope, I would say hope too,
Yeah, man. One thing that I know, from experience in my book was like the editing process, it was tough, because this stuff that you wrote, you're like, man, I gotta take that out. I gotta, go back and add this in. What's something that, people will not see in this, 12 chapters that didn't make the editing cut that people are gonna hear. People can hear now, and only hear right now. Spill the tea.
That didn't make it. Oh, that's a good question. I'm literally scanning the chapters. Well, what's funny is actually this Hidden in Plain Sight, A Single Black Woman's Manifesto, my other chapter. I was surprised by what was left in. I was like, wait a minute now. I thought you were going to cut some stuff. Yeah. You're not cutting anything? I was like, oh no, this is a lot. I shared a lot here. So I was like, that's odd. So I would say that was a surprise. There was so much more I could have talked about in that chapter, but it was already long. It's the longest chapter in the book. And so I was like, I can't go no further. I've taken too many liberties with this chapter. It's too long. It's not too long, but it's just longer than the other ones. And so I was like, I got to stick to my word count on the other ones. I would say probably the colorism one. It's not, I could have probably talked about how colorism maps onto Black men, but because the book is it is by Black women for Black women, I wanted to really stay true to that. But I could have taken probably maybe a paragraph, to talk about, and for men, this is how colorism shakes out. But honestly, I think it is up to a man to actually write that, because I think there needs to be more work on how colorism shows up for men. And so I would have liked to have done that if I could have, but I'm also kind of like, I don't know if that was really my place to do that anyway. And so that's something I probably would have wanted to explore a little bit more. But other than that, I do feel like I've said much of what I wanted to say. I don't feel like I was like, I didn't get to say this. I wish I could have added that. For the most part, I feel good about what's in there. So.
Yeah. And people can definitely pick it up and pre-order right now. The book is coming out April 26th. Everywhere.
Look at that cover.
Yo, it's a nice cover. It's a nice cover.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So dude, go ahead, shout out,
Aaron
the designers.
Robinson. Aaron K. Robinson is the illustrator for our book. It's just, she did a marvelous job. She's the one that illustrates every season of Truth Table. We change our artwork. We morph into different people. And so every season she changes the artwork for us. We tell her, okay, we're gonna be doctors this season. This year we need the Pan-African flag because we're talking about reparations. And she does. Every year she blows our mind. And so she really outdid herself with the cover. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it's real solid. I love it. You're a theologian. Christina's an educator. Michelle, an organizer. Here on Stuck in the Middle, we're all about, encouraging the next person, the next theologian. And, also, from a business standpoint, I'm curious how a theologian, manages the living, you know what I mean? And how you sustain yourself. And it's good to see. Yeah.
I would like to know, Jesus. Hello? Hello, Jesus. It's been serious sacrifice. This calling is it's a weighty call. It's a heavy call. It's a hard call. I love what I do. I'm grateful, for the calling. I'm grateful to be walking my purpose. I get up, because I'm motivated, by what I do. I'm grateful to be a servant of the Lord, a public servant, of the Lord, but it's hard. It's hard. There's not, at least for me, and maybe I just ain't doing it right, but there ain't a lot of money in this now. God has been keeping me. And people hear book deals and pay look, listen, unless you, there's a select few that's really like making bank like that. And remember, this is a book that's co-authored by 3 people, right? So whatever advance you have, you're splitting by 3, and then you're paying your agent. Hello, there's just all these things. So in the end, you're not really it's not like you're not making bank like that. You got to really do this because you believe in the importance of the gospel and spreading the gospel and doing the Lord's will and trusting that God will do the math. And that God will continue to sustain you and keep. And the Lord has sustained me and kept me. But the years have been lean. I'm not gonna lie to you. The years have been lean. I've been doing this since 2016. More officially, I'd say 2016 now. So I'm like, dang, that's going on 6 years. Time's going. How that happened? But yeah, it's been hard. It's been tough, because my life was so completely different. I used to do I was in corporate America, all that. There was nothing wrong with that in and of itself. But God called me, to go in a completely different direction. And that was shocking and still is okay, God, but I'm just trusting and believing that the Lord will come through, with a little bit more. It'll harvest will come eventually, and you know what? Ultimately, Jesus is my harvest. And so yeah, it's been a faith walk. It's been a faith walk, not only financially, but really I've had to walk by faith and not by sight. I didn't have any models. I didn't have anybody to look to okay, I'm going to model myself after that person. I didn't have that.
That's actually my next question. Who do you come to? Who are your heroes? Who are your heroes and teachers right now?
Yeah, I didn't have any, as far as in public theology, I didn't have any models. I did not have any anybody to look to that did what I do, that did what I do now. Now I have contemporaries that do what I do. We were starting at the same time probably, but I didn't have anybody to model myself after at all. And nobody to my left or to my right at the time when I first started. It was just okay, I'm just walking. I didn't know what public theology was. I didn't know any of that. I just didn't know what that was. I really was walking by faith and not by sight. And so if there's any models or heroes or people that I look up to in the faith, it's my grandma, my praying grandma, who's the one that catechized me, raised me in the faith, taught me, how to pray, taught me some BBO songs, taught us the Lord's Prayer, taught us John 3:16 from the King James Bible, taught us everything. You know what I mean? Fundamentally, that was the first theologian I ever encountered, and I'm so grateful. And she's still in the land of the living, thank God. She's always ready to meet Jesus, always has been since I was 6. So she came to the country probably when I was Gosh, how old was I? I don't even know. Maybe around 8 or 9. She's been here for a long time. She's a citizen, votes and everything. But my family's been here for a long time. But yeah, I didn't have those models. So probably definitely my grandmother, definitely my mom, but also I would say my mentor, Stephanie Evans, is huge for me. I need to call her. I haven't talked to her in a minute. I need to call her. So it's like I owe her a phone call. I've been busy with this book launch. But those are the people that I look to, faithful saints who have been walking with the Lord for a long time, much longer than I have, been further down the road than me. They've been huge for me. And then I have like historical models like Nanny Helen Burroughs, Mary Church Terrell, these women that are public women of faith that were carrying the torch, and doing it without shame, and so yeah, walking by faith, brother, walking by faith.
Nah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Switching gears a little bit, I know you are a thrifter, you love thrifting. Yeah, I'm curious what. Huh?
I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, I haven't gone thrifting in a while. Okay.
Yeah, speaking of what are your top 2 favorite, thrift stores to hit up in the DMV or Philly, New York area?
Oh boy. You know what? I don't have a particular favorite out. Like I like Salvation Army, actually. I just like to go into a Salvation Army. I just feel like you can get a whole lot of little goodies there.
What's your favorite department as soon as you walk in to head into?
Do they have departments like that? I don't know if they really have departments like that. I mean, clothes is where I go first, and then, clothes. And then I'll probably go to the shoes. Yes, I'll get some shoes if they're cute. And they look like they're clean and I can go clean them myself. And so the clothes, the shoes, and then jewelry, of course. Yeah. And then I'm trying to think if I'm wearing is this one thrifted? Oh, I don't think this is thrifted, and this is not thrifted. But yeah, Salvation Army, probably, I feel like I can't really lose there, but there is a favorite vintage store, thrift store that I love so much. It is in San Diego, California, and it is called Flashback. Oh my goodness, I love that store. So whenever I go to San Diego, which is not often, I haven't been to San Diego in many years, but when I go, I have to set aside some money because I'm like, I gotta go to Flashback.
I gotta hit up Flashback.
I gotta come up. So yeah.
Definitely. Before we round up, I want to do a quick segment called Explain That Post. You do a lot of posting, and they, they do their numbers. So I'm gonna pick maybe 2, maybe 3 posts, and you just give some more context. I
feel like I haven't been posting lately because I've been pushing this book.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I was scrolling like
I know, because I don't tweet as much anymore because I'm kind of like, I told y'all that this thing was gonna happen. Y'all don't listen. You got mad at me instead. So
here we go. Here's the one. You said we can't, quote unquote, financially piece our way out of racial wealth gap.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, you explain it? Okay, yeah. So there is a tendency, I would say, many churches across the board, don't matter, black, white, what, African, don't matter, where financial peace has like this hold on the church, which, whatever, there's whole types of critiques, it's not my cup of tea personally, but managing your money, stewarding it well, very important. God wants that of us. God calls us to that. But there is a sense in which the program is sometimes marketed in some church spaces as if this is the cure-all and that this is going to land us on equal footing, as if student loan debt is not a thing, as if we're not starting behind, simply in this country, simply because we are Black. Add immigrant status on that, add undocumented immigrant status on that. Like, wait a minute, like we cannot financial piece our way out of systemic racism and structural issues that are keeping us behind financially, so yes, steward your money, but know that you can only steward so much, right? You know what I'm saying? If this person has an income of, I don't know, $60,000 and you have an income of 30 and y'all working in the same position in the same company, what is financial peace really going to do for you? when you're talking about, you know, what Billy is getting for $60,000 at $60,000, you know, which obviously these are low numbers, but I'm just throwing that out. You know what I mean? That's a fundamental equity issue, and so that's what I mean by that. And really, there's reparations. I mean, so yeah.
Yes. All right, one more. You can't love Black people and white supremacy.
Yeah, you gotta make a choice. You gotta make a choice. You can't like them both, okay? The whole point of white supremacy is built on anti-Blackness. Like, it is built on either implicit or explicit hatred of Black people. So, and that's across the board. That's Black people all across the world, all over the world. And so, whatever kind of Black person you are, okay? So yeah, you can't love both. You need to choose ye this day who you you know, and that's pleasing to God. Yeah. White supremacy is going to go to the pit of hell, thank God, with all the other sins, you know. So one day it will be cast down, but I think we see what's happening in Grand Rapids right now with that brother that just got murdered by the police, Leoya. I can't remember. I don't remember his first name. Patrick, I think.
Patrick,
Patrick Leoya, who was just killed in Grand Rapids.
And that's actually where, you know, producer of the show, Akon, my brother, leaves Grand Rapids, so that's definitely close to home for him. So I don't know.
My goodness. Okay. Oh, he lives there. Oh, wow. Yeah. And so right now it sounds like things are somewhat mild, but at any moment it could pick up.
Right.
You know, I know that Sharpton and I think Ben Crump are going out there shortly. So these things are not, you know, I think there's a sense in which as African people are like, it's not, if we just do this, if we just pay attention, if we just make our good grades and we get our engineering job or our doctor job or our nurse job, you know, or whatever we think is going to be the golden ticket to escaping racism, there is no escape from that. You're Black, period. That's what it is. They not asking you if you're from Congo, and that ain't gonna help you because they hate Africans too. And so what are you gonna do? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's serious right there. So we are all, none of us are safe. You know what I mean? None of us are safe, and our accolades are not gonna save us. So you can't love us. You love Black people. Hate white supremacy. Let's all agree with that.
Yeah. And there's more and more and more in the book, Truth Table, Black Women's Musings on Life, Love, and Liberations. You see it. The cover is stunning. The book is on pre-order right now. It's out April 26th. Let them know where they can follow you if they want to reach out for more questions.
Yes. So yes, thank you so much for having me. Yes, do pre-order the book. It is really important because that pre-orders actually send a signal to the power brokers that the thoughts of Black people are important. The thoughts of Black women in particular are important. We want more of this. You know, it lets them know that, okay, no, there's a market for this. We need more books, you know, from other Black women that do this. So pre-ordering is so key, really, really important. When you pre-order, you'll get the book the day that it actually launches, which is April 26th. You can follow me on Twitter at Sister Theology, actually at Sister_Theology, on Instagram at Sister Theology. My website is systematictheology.com, SISTAMATIC, theology.com, and you can read my articles and see my videos and all the things. You can pre-order the book, I think, on my website as well. And then you can also follow Truth Table at Truth Table on all of those platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I also have a Facebook fan page. It's at Sister Theology. If you look me up, or even if you just type in my name, I believe it will come up. So so thank you so much for having me.
This has been a blast, a pleasure. Definitely, you know, come back again in the future, and you know, much all the best, and you know, the book, the podcast, and everything you got going on.
Thank you so much, y'all. Thank you.
No, for sure. Listen, if you enjoy what you heard, what you listened, definitely hit the subscribe button. Let your mama know, put it in the WhatsApp group chats and everything, send it on your, you know, broadcast list, and definitely pick up the book. Shout out to the entire team for producing this, AK, Ma, Tutu, Chuchu, Achiri, and everybody on the team stuck in the podcast. We appreciate y'all. And we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Stuck in the Middle. This is your girl, Adele Clarice. Shout out to Stuck in the Middle podcast. We love you guys.
General, I feel like I'm stuck in the middle.
Stuck in the Middle Podcast. Big shout out to the family. I'm talking Riflex, aka Achuri, and the rest of the gang. Hey, make sure you bring all your important information, your art, everything in the DMV. Doesn't matter where you are at. Come to the DMV to Stuck in the Middle Podcast. That's where it's at.